Welcome to the Bum's Corner Coast to Coast podcast. The views and opinions expressed in this show are those of the hosts and are not those of Bum's Corner Media Enterprises. This program contains strong language. Listener discretion is advised. Listen at your own risk. God, I hate this gig.
All right, after a long hiatus and surgery and a couple stints of me in the emergency room, I dragged all of my new and wonderful friends to go see the next installment in the Pooniverse Nightmare series, or whatever you want to call this. Yeah, folks, we are going to discuss Peter Pan Neverland's Nightmares. And I can't wait to discuss this because let me tell you, some of us really love this, some of us really hated it, and I'm the reason that this happened. So, F you to my friends, and F you to the audience, and I love you all. This is what the fuck did I just watch? So,
with Bum's Corner, Coast to Coast.
I forgot. So we have Bum's Corner, Coast to Coast. We have Randy representing the Last Roundup Horror Show.
Correcto.
We have Tom number 2 / Tom, which would have been Rebecca. Sorry, Rebecca, you're not feeling well today while we're recording. We will miss you. We'll probably make fun of you because we are terrible people, and you know it. So, Girls Grow Schools, you are also being represented by Jenny as well in this wonderful mashup. Yeah, this wonderful mashup craziness that we call W2F Did I Just Watch? So, who wants to read me the fun synopsis of this amazing Neverland nightmare?
Wendy Darling encounters a twisted Tinkerbell as she tries to rescue her brother Michael from evil clutches of Peter Pan. That is the Google summary of it.
That's a great summary, and that explains exactly the movie we watched. Okay, and we're done. No, just kidding.
I mean, that's pretty much the plot.
That is the plot. Like I said, this is a part of the Pooniverse, and I'm just gonna kick it off the bat. I think these movies get better each entry that we get. That first Pooh Blood and Honey movie was a rough movie for all of us, with the exception of the opening credits, which we have discussed. The second one got better, even with Jenny get annoying with bitch, known as the Tigger.
Badly done. You couldn't even say any bitch. There was no conviction behind it. You got to be like, bitch. He was like,
bitch. And this one had, I thought Peter Pan was really cool, especially the beginning when we first get introduced with him, when he's like under this like cellar thing, kind of reminiscence of Evil Dead 2. But this Peter's like, I'm going to get you with this creepy voice that I love to use on people. It was just, I don't know. Even there was just scenes of him dancing around and doing like weird mime things that I thought, wow, this is pretty freaking amazing. But let's everyone.
I just want to interject this one thought. So I will agree, without a doubt, the movies do improve. Like from where we started to where we are now, each installment has been a little bit better. But like I said before, it's like saying that this Republican has the least sexual assault allegations, so he's safe to be with. No, he's still a fucking predator, and these movies still fucking suck. They're just getting better.
They're getting better. So that's Jenny's 2 takes on it. Let's hear somebody else give a little fun take on this so far from the beginning.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a great movie. Not great as in like Citizen Kane, but as far as cheap horror movies go, this is up there. I'd easily give it like a 7 out of 10. And what I loved about it was the sympathetic villain. So, a lot of the slasher movies, it's more about revenge. But Peter in his own head, I think, was saving these kids from whatever horrific abuse he went through as a child. So he saw himself as the hero. And again, like Tom and I were talking about it last night, he went on just a fucking gory journey to get to the point where he was, trying to save Michael.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a lot of fun. I think he's a great character. I'm looking forward to seeing him in these weird little crossovers that they're doing with like their horror version of the Avengers with all of these, public domain characters. But this was an absolutely solid entry into the Poohverse.
No surprise. I've got to agree with Mike. I don't have to agree with Mike. I just do. Actually, this was the first movie that I've seen in the Poohverse. However, we saw that, and then was it yesterday or the day before, I came home and I watched Blood and Honey 1, just to kind of get perspective on the Poohverse. And yeah, you're right. That's a bad movie. That was horrible. And seeing that, it kind of even made Neverland Nightmare even a little better, because it just seemed like so far ahead, beyond what they started with Blood and Honey 1. Great. I thought a great use of that character. Just the damage that I won't say sympathetic hero, but I don't know. You kind of understand where he's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of hard to sympathize with, a guy who goes about murdering children all willy-nilly.
But it wasn't really willy-nilly. It was all boys, and it was all a certain age.
Well, and also, I think you're wrong, like that he wasn't trying to save them. And there's a couple reasons why I completely disagree with the sympathetic villain. Now, interesting and kind of funny, sure. Creepy as fuck, well acted, I'll give you all that. But the reason why I don't think he was really trying to save them is because there's those lines he has with Tinkerbell where he's like, what I'm really doing with them. So all along, he's never really trying to pretend like he's taken to Neverland. All along, he's just murdering them. And in his head, there's some kind of reason why he thinks that this is going to save himself, not them. So, and if you also recall, anybody who disagrees with him, he keeps locked up in his dungeon and tortures for the entirety of their lives.
So we all have our hobbies.
And so I really didn't know he was trying to save these kids because he thought they were unappreciated, to the point where he even manipulated Tinkerbell. He made Tinkerbell think that they were not wanted when their family actually loved them. So I don't really see the sympathy part there. I do see where they give him a background where they imply that he was abused as a child as well, but he falls into the line of, instead of him becoming something better, he became something worse. Instead of sympathy for other abused children or trying to save them for real, he just kills them and abuses them. So I did not get sympathy there. But he was a fascinating creature in a lot of ways, and like his facial expressions and his animation, not like drawn, but his physical animation was really well done. I that was one of the good points of the movie for sure. Some of the bad points are the story dragged a lot, and a lot of shit just didn't fucking make sense. Not in the sense like supernatural not making sense, but in the sense like, where is this plot even fucking happening?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Randy, what did you think? Because you haven't gotten your.
Oh yeah, I was just I agree with you guys, John Paul, Mike, and Tom, and Jenny. I'm gonna dissent here, but yeah, I thought this was pretty good. I've been subjected to, with other podcasts I did, primarily with John Paul, some of the worst movies you can imagine watching, and this was nowhere near as bad as any of those. This is I agree. And the trilogy so far, the best entry, the most competently directed. Even though it's light on story, I felt like it had more of a depth to the story, than the other two. I mean, the other two are straight up meat grinder movies is what I call them. Like, you're putting people in to just grind them up. This actually had a point, I thought. And, so far we've seen two different takes. I'm more inclined to agree with Jenny on that fact. I think this guy knew exactly what he was doing, and he created this Neverland to kind of ease the children's mind into what he was doing. I don't know if it was some sort of sick satisfaction or he had some sort of psychosis because he clearly had trauma from when he was a kid. But whatever he was thinking, and I'll point to one thing I noticed. Spoiler alert if anybody cares that's watching this, but there's a scene where, like in the original Peter Pan series, or different versions of it, Peter sees a shadow on the wall. Now, at one point, he levitates, and then Tink comes in, and he's on the ground. So I was trying to figure if they were pointing to the fact that his psychosis was so severe, he literally thought that he was Peter Pan at this point.
And he was high. Don't forget he was high during that.
He was on drugs.
The heroin thing.
Right. Or if that was a drug reaction. I don't know. And I liked a lot of the kills in this were practical effects. I'm a big practical effect. If you're going to do it in movies like this, like Terrifier is a good example, let's do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they did it in this. So if you're a gore hound like me, and I'm not a gore hound in a weird sense. I like to watch it and try to figure out how they did it. You know what I mean? It's interesting to me to see the special effect, actually how it works. It's pretty cool. And these were seamless. Like if you're going to break somebody's arms off, it looks like that's how you do it. You know? Yeah. So, but I made a couple of notes, not to be long-winded, but Peter Pan's played by Martin Portlock, and he is fantastic. I really think this guy's got a pretty good future, especially, I mean, if you think about like Art the Clown I don't think it's going to get that level. Don't get me wrong, but Art the Clown, 5 years ago, nobody knew who the hell that was. I feel like this guy's going to get roles, much like the guy that's in all Rob Zombie's movies now. He was in 31. John Paul, do you know that dude's name off the top of your head?
Can't think.
He was in Three from Hell as the new character in Three from Hell. I can't think of his name.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I see them using this guy more because he has that thing, a presence, like he is really giving this character, instead of just, I'm a cardboard slasher, he's giving it a personality. I really appreciated that.
Richard Brake, does that sound right?
Richard Brake, that's him. Yep. Like he's got that kind of range. So I'm thinking that this guy's going to get more work. I hope so. He seems like he's really great. Wendy Darling's played by Megan Placido. I'd never heard of her before this, never seen her anything. Really, really well done. Final girl. I love when a final girl can actually final girl, and she was giving it just as good as she was getting it. I love that. She was great. And this Kit Green, I couldn't find much about this actor playing Tink. I mean, when they first introduced Tink, I don't know about you guys, I kind of cringed because I was like, oh man, are they going to make fun of this whole thing? I mean, you know what I mean? But I really felt like it was necessary to the story and well done. And at the end of it, I didn't feel like anybody was using that as a, carrot or some exactly dispute hatred.
It wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd like us to discuss Tink as a character in this movie because I thought Tink was a different, an unexpected thing. Mm-hmm. The only thing I heard originally, before this movie came out, they were going to explain that Tink's going to get high on heroin. And I thought, what? And I thought, how are they going to...
If you don't mind. No,
right, Pixie Dust, exactly. And how are they going to actually pull this off? And I thought even just the way they did the character, and let's just not beat around the bush. The character was a trans character. I thought that was a different take and a very interesting take, the way they used that character in this movie. And it wasn't like for cheap thrills. It wasn't to make fun of that community in any way. It was actually a really interesting way they use the characters. That's another reason why I think I enjoyed this movie, because like we talked about, there was a little bit more depth and a little bit more story than, like Randy said, just a grind of kills.
So I would say in all, it was very empathetic towards the LGBTQI community as a whole, because if you also noticed, can't remember the little kid's name. It wasn't John. What is the youngest kid's name? Michael and his friend
Joey.
They appeared to be gay leaning. I mean, they looked like a couple. That was kind of the implication I got out of it.
No, they were just buds.
Yeah. and
There's one
those
scene where
girls are
they're
just
walking and they
roommates
hold hands
historically.
for a minute.
But but I mean,
Well,
like they threw in a range of
who
different
hasn't held their
characters
buddy's
like that.
hand? I don't.
They had persons of colors. They had, like I said, the main characters were Michael and his friend were clearly a little bit more than just friends. They showed somebody picking on Michael for that by putting the thing on the back that said faggot, and you see his best friend is like best friend slash whatever romantic interest. It's kind of hard to say, but it looks like that was the implication, in my opinion. Taking it off and standing up for both of them, I thought in general and how they portrayed Tinkerbell slash I think the character's name was Tim before they became Tinkerbell.
Yeah,
The family was sympathetic to him. The father honored her by keeping everything there and talked about her being a her. So I thought it was really, yeah, again, not about picking on them, but being gentle about what
yeah.
they go.
The father just wanted the child back, and that was kind of cool to see as a change up. In a lot of these kind of storylines, they'll be like, "I was glad he left," like that
Right.
kind of stuff, or drunk. And that they played the dad as like, "Hey, I just want my kid back. I don't care what. I just want my kid back," which was kind of cool for. I mean, for a slap. This is the cool thing about horror movies. I hope we can all agree with. Is like there's so many people who think that this is just about hurting and murder and stuff, and it's about so many different things. I mean, you're putting social commentary in these things, and we're talking about it right now. You know what I mean? That's this little low budget movie had a ton of social commentary in it, and I think that's the most endearing thing about horror films when they're done right. Is you can take away a bunch of different, you know, a bunch of different takeaways. I mean, at the end of the day, from it, different messages. So.
It's a lot like sci-fi where you can sort of quote unquote sneak your message in underneath the story.
Yeah.
So you can look at the face value and just see, oh, this guy is, killing a busload of boys for fun and profit. Or you can kind of look behind the veil and see what is it that director and producer are trying to what are they trying to tell you? What are they trying to say behind that scene? Yeah. So, and I agree with you. I think it was well done. I don't think it was pandering in any way, shape, or form. It was just, here are these kids, here's what they're going through, and here's what the parents are going through at the same time. In fact, Tom and I were talking about this last night. I thought it was interesting that for Peter to punish Tinkerbell for seeing through the veil of illusion and saying, this isn't real. There's something not right about this. He took her arms away from her, and we thought it was very akin to plucking Tink's wings. He took away her escape. She can't do. It's really hard to do heroin without arms. I'm still kind of in pain a little bit from testing it this morning, and it's not as easy as you think it would be.
Gotta learn to use your feet. Come on.
And that's what I was doing. I forgot, like, I cannot sit crisscross applesauce, let it go alone, like get it up close enough. But anyway, that's for another show. But just the way the characters were portrayed, and I kind of agree with you about the is it Michael was the young man and John was the brother, right? Am I getting the names right? Okay, yeah. I think there were romantic inclinations between him and the best friend too. So I agree with you there. But just it was handled very well. It wasn't, oh, shock value, look at this. It wasn't the trauma in your face. Oh, look at this gay person. Now we're gonna like smear them on the wall kind of thing. It was more subtle, and you could tell there was a lot of care behind it too.
Which that kind of goes to, so leads me into one of my big complaints about it was Joey. That was the friend's name. The treatment of him and his family in the end, like they were made like in a sense the most disposable characters, and I didn't like that. Like it was just like everybody else, like Michael's entire family survives without even much. And Wendy, of course, goes through some shit. Michael goes through some shit, but the family's fine. Joey's family gets slaughtered. Like, and meanwhile, Wendy's just like it was just so meh, like and icky. Not because it was like gross and scary, but just icky the way it kind of felt about how they made that family so disposable, to the point where like you think Joey gets away in the end, and he may have, but you don't see him after that. He's not showing up with his best friend's birthday the year later. He's just disposable. It's like watching Lords of Salem and wondering what the fuck happened to the dog. You know, that's how they treat this character in the end. He's just.
I guess I missed that. He wasn't at the birthday party at the end.
I didn't see him there.
No, guys, anybody? No,
I can't recall as well. I think you might be right, Jenny, but I can't recall.
I mean, I only saw it once, so I could be wrong, but I looked and I did not see him. So
yeah.
Yeah, if so, that's pretty jacked up. I didn't notice that.
But no, you bring a good point that the family was kind of. I mean, the only way I could say we could defend it is okay. It's a horror movie, so you have to have some brutality, you know. And there was, let's just throw these people as cannon fodder. Because it does kind of change the tone with the way this movie has been with all of the different. Different movies prior to this one, because this one it does show there was a little bit not aside from the budget, because you can tell that they put more budget into this one and more production value, but in terms of a more better refined polished story compared to the last two entries, I think this one definitely did it. And I think like we talked about, is because of I think they gave you enough of a better backstory into the character of Peter and Tinkerbell that you're kind of like, okay, I am a little sympathetic. But again, this is also still a slasher movie. But this was a kind of different slasher movie. And I don't want to say it was just an evolve and throw away the word evolve. But when I say evolved, I mean, if you look at like 80s and 90s slashers and even Art the Clown, those are just, we're going to throw away kills. And yes, some of them had some poignant things in some of their entries and everything. But even me being a huge Nightmare on Elm Street fan, I thought this Peter Pan slightly in terms of as a character, better than Freddy Krueger. And I love Freddy Krueger. But I just because I think of the way that the character they showed different aspects of it and the growth of it. And even like I said, and Tinkerbell was I really thought that was just the way they handled that character was really, really neat. It was very different. And now, because and these kind of movies, you think, okay, they're going to kind of exploit this kind of character the way they were. And I'm so happy to say they really didn't.
Right, because they could have gone the route of Silence of the Lambs and had Buffalo Bill in there, right? And they didn't.
Yeah.
And that they did.
Exactly.
So they gave you something completely different and completely new, and it was good.
I think if I was going to complain myself though about something, it's that they didn't really they gave us some new takes on characters, but they didn't really do anything new slasher film wise. You know, I didn't see anybody take any risks, no cool camera angles, nothing flashy. This was pretty. The only thing I could say is like the opening title card felt like a 70s grindhouse movie, but I mean there was no real they didn't keep that aesthetic really, and I just kind of wish these new guys that are coming up doing this stuff, I think it's great, but put your stamp on it, man. Maybe you're the guy that does, crane shots that are cool or something. I don't know. Right. It's just, they don't seem to be taking any sort of risks. Well, okay. I mean, I always say this, Quentin Tarantino didn't have a whole lot of budget on Reservoir Dogs, and he had some of the most iconic camera angles of all time. So, I mean, I'm just saying, they should try some different stuff on that end, technical things, these movies, if they're going to keep doing them, they should have their own stamp, I guess maybe the characters are for this one, but there should be something that sets it apart. Like, oh, did you see that? That was really cool, So
I think that's actually, you're really hitting why I didn't like this movie that much. And it's not just because of the lack of, making, but also because the tropes they kept playing on, and they were boring about it and not really even giving enough of the normal, supernatural trope. So my issue was they made it too easy for Peter Pan to be this crazed killer. There was nothing stopping him. The man, okay, so there was a history. They made it known that there was a history of this guy throughout the decades kidnapping and killing the children. And then they're sitting there in front of a school in a van that says Neverland on the side of it. Nobody fucking notices. You know, they have this guy literally creep into a costume store, put on the most fucked up mask you could possibly see, and after it closes, nobody has enough sense to be like, I'm going to call the cops and not approach this man. Did nobody have any kind of, I'm like, are they in like the middle of like, I don't know, Beaver Town? You know, what is happening? It was just literally that easy. People just, he walked into windows. He has a maimed, horribly maimed face. And I'm not saying that everybody with a maimed face is a killer, but I'm saying that there's enough to make you be cautious.
I have a
Takes his
main
head out
face,
from under
and
the hood of the
I'm not
car
a
to
killer.
bus driver, and the bus driver's like, I'm going to have a conversation with him instead of running to the fuck bus and hit it in reverse and get these kids the hell away from somebody who looks like a creepy, crazy killer. Like, none of that happens. And I'm like, you know, at least with the other horror movies you have that these creatures are somewhat supernatural, there is no excuse for why this guy was able to go around for decades other than apparently people were exceptionally naive in the area.
Hmm.
And I think that's why it bothered him. I'm like, I know people are stupid. I mean, look what's going on in America. But this is a complete lack of self-preservation.
Denny, it's because movie.
I know, but that's not good
Something needs
enough.
to happen because movie.
Again, if you're going to give me because movie, okay, Freddy Krueger's a thing from your nightmares. All right, that's supernatural. I get it. Jason moving up from the swamp. I get it. That's supernatural. You shoot him in the head, he comes back. Same thing with Mike Myers. At least they give you, it's bad trope, but something to explain why these keep coming back and going away. Yeah, this is just like, we just have to completely suspend that anybody has a brain cell functioning in their head at all. I mean, the girl literally plugs on her phone and doesn't stick it to mute in the killer's house.
Yeah.
Hello.
But again, I did have one huge issue with it. And ever since 1990, no one should play any Hook character and not be Tim Curry. So you know, forget your crane work. I think your budget should have been dumped in there, even if it's only a character that's there to possibly make a sequel. That should have been Tim Curry.
Yeah. Nice. Well, did you guys know too that the director was Scott Chambers, who played Christopher Robin from Part 2? I didn't know that when I was reading it. I just thought that was kind of cool. So
That is cool.
And he's one of the producers of all this stuff. He works. He's making all this happen.
The blame
him.
for the pain.
The blame. Yeah. I say keep doing what you're doing, buddy. Just add a little bit more flair. Just add some more flair.
Yeah, because there is that continued evolution of getting better and better. So there's a good chance by the time they get to their 5th or 6th movie, there might be something where I'm like, this is the fucking horror movie to see. We're not there yet.
And Ginny, maybe at some point you'll get your origin story.
Yeah.
There it is.
All right. So let's just
Peter Pan cigarette burns.
All right, let's just go quick final thoughts and a rating from 1 to 10, 1 being the worst movie Jenny's ever seen in her life, 10 being the best Jenny's movie she's ever seen in her life. And we'll start with Tom. What is your final thoughts on this one?
I'm going to give this like a solid 7. And I wish I could do more, but with $100,000 more and maybe a month's worth of reshoots and post-production, this would have been like a solid 8.5.
Okay.
All right.
I think, yeah. But for as is, I'll give it a 7, and I will watch it when it comes on Peacock.
Yep.
I'll see it again.
All right, we'll jump to you, Randy. What is your final thoughts and rating on this one?
I agree. This, as somebody who consumes horror films all the time for my other podcast, this is a gem of a movie. You know, I would say 7 out of 10 is a perfect score for this. It has everything you want in a low budget horror movie. I hope they build upon this story and give us more of this character down the road. Once the Puniverse is complete, I will definitely be getting the Blu-ray box set of this at some point.
Amen.
All right, Mike.
I'm comfortable with the 7. I thought it was a solid entry into this series. any steps that we can take that bring us closer to Bambi the Reckoning, I am going to be behind. Again, I think the first two Pooh movies suffered because they had to be first out of the gate to get that credibility when everything went public domain. With Peter Pan, you could tell they did have a little bit more runway to work with. It's far from cohesive, but the story, I think, there was a little more work that was put in it. Maybe they got an editor this time, which they were lacking in the first two movies. But I liked it, and yes, I will watch it when it comes on streaming. I won't recommend anybody pay for it at this point, but it's a solid $4 or $5 rental. Absolutely, I think it's great, and I will watch it definitely again when it comes on.
All right. I'm going to go next, and then Jenny, I'm going to let you cap this off. I'm going to give this an 8. And I think, like, for the points that I brought up earlier because of the characters, and I really, really like this character's design of this Peter. I really enjoyed the way he looked, the creepiness about him, the voice, the weird Barbie scene that we did not talk about, which is fine. We don't have to get into it. Once you guys see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. And again, let's be honest. We knew going in that this wasn't going to be a 10 out of 10. We knew going in that this was going to be just an okay movie. So I mean, the bars were set low, and the scene that most people don't like, I really enjoyed. I enjoyed that bus scene. I enjoyed the bus driver coming out and the kids just standing there while the bus driver gets McMurdered. It just made me laugh. I don't know why. I mean, and again, my biggest and only major thing about this entry is I'm still kind of at a loss of how all of these movies are going to shape into a collective Avengers movie where you have all of these creatures together. I'm hoping that in the next one, which is either Bambi or Pooh 3, I've been hearing back and forth what they're going to do, how it will all tie in. I mean, there's a lot of talks now of the Pinocchio one. I'm kind of excited about that one.
So right about that one with the nose too, but anyway.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, it's I liked it a little bit more than most people. I thought about it more and more. I don't know. There was just something about it. I kept thinking about it. So once I get to see it again, I'm excited to see it again and kind of be like, all right, maybe I'll catch some other things I didn't catch. So I'll give it at that. And with that being said, Jenny, close us off with your
the most
final
hated
thoughts.
person in all this podcast.
Final
right?
thoughts and rating, even though I will never hate you.
Everybody else will. It's fine. So it's 4, kind of moving towards 5 a little, and that's mostly just because it really did have some phenomenal fucking actors. Like, I cannot take that away from it. There was some great fucking actors in the main roles, and even some of the supporting characters, really great. There was a creativity to it. Like, it wasn't exactly where I thought it was going to go with Peter Pan exactly, because with the low budget that they had, I thought what they did with that and to make it like a Neverland sort of thing, I thought that was good. Again, the way they integrated such a diverse character type group, I really liked that a lot. But like I said, to me, it was just hard because, like, if you in kind of self-preservation sense, this should not have been even a horror, but it should have been like a quick, I don't know, SVU episode. So,
got wrapped up soon.
And then my other thing was where a lot of the practical effects were good. The problem with that is when they were bad, it was like literally when he killed the guy in the costume suit, you could kind of see the guy pumping the thing to squirt the blood out of his.
Fair enough.
And that kind of took me out of it a little. And I mean, they got me back in because you're absolutely right, Randy. Later on, they got so much better with the practical effects, But that one was really had me sitting there for a while, like, what are we doing here, guys? You Tom Savini's soul with that one. What are you doing?
I would say that's the worst kill in the whole movie, honestly.
was
But yeah.
But I mean, yeah. So again, I'm going to go with I'm going to be continuously bitter about paying $15 for this movie, especially since Marcus Cinema did not give me free hot cocoa at that point, which they should have, and some free alcohol to see it.
I gave you free popcorn.
Well, that's because you bought it for me. Thank you. But will I watch again? Probably when it's free, if only to make sure that Joey never made it to the end scene, even though he possibly survived.
Do it for Joey.
Tell you, watch it for free for sure. You know, it's definitely the best installment yet. I have hope, and this is indicated, you know, good substantial hope that these were still going to get. And I would not even be surprised if at the end they make one of the most phenomenal horror movies I've ever seen. That might actually come out of this. I believe that's a possibility. I'm not going to hold my breath for it, but it could happen. So yeah, my final thoughts are: it's worth a watch for free. I would not invest money in it. You might want to drink for, you know, anytime you see disappearing, reappearing silliness, or every time you watch something you're like, man, did you not watch ABC after school specials? What's wrong with you? Yeah, so that's it. You know, when it's free, watch it for sure. Support the Poonaverse, I guess. It could happen that it gets great, and you can say I knew them when.
So you said 5 out of 10?
Yeah, that's kind of 4.5.
Okay.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right.
Well, I want to thank all of our wonderful guests, the Bums Coast to Coast, Tom and Mike. Thank you very much.
Wouldn't miss it.
The Last Roundup Horror Show. Randy, thank you very much. Jenny, Girls Go Schools. Thank you very much.
What the fuck? I gotta do.
And for us at What the Fuck, we're back. We don't know how long, but we're back.
Hey.
I also want to just thank any new viewers. I know I had some people from TikTok reach out to me that they've decided to follow us here. So thank you. You know, I really appreciate anything. You know, Jenny and I host this crazy podcast of just random stuff that we watch sometimes as kids, sometimes we go to the movies and we do different things. And we always will say, we welcome any guest. Reach out to us. If you want to be a guest and you want to say, hey, would you be interested in watching this movie with us and we talk about it? Yes, we will. No matter how fucked up the movie is. You know, it doesn't matter. We just talk about crazy stuff. But we do at What the Fuck Did We Just Watch? Because we always wonder, what the fuck did we just watch? So yes, thank you all. And say goodnight, Jenny.
Good night, Jenny.
Good night, Jenny. All right.
Hey, there it is.
It was a pleasure, guys. Have a good one.
Always take care.
Care.